Yes guys, what's going on? Welcome to Adam McKola TV. I am Adam. Hope you guys are all doing well. We are live. If you're not watching live, then thank you for tuning in anyway. And if you are watching live, remember this show is your show. You can keep it interactive, keep your comments, keep your thoughts coming in, and I'll try and read out as many as possible. Remember, all your super chats I will read out because they're just so big I can't even miss them. But apart from that, I'll get through as many comments and questions as possible. If you're watching later, comment under the comments below and I'll reply to them too. Anyway, Manchester United against Aston Villa. Premier League football returns to Old Trafford this weekend and I'm really looking forward to this game. It is going to be a difficult game. It's not going to be easy, of course it isn't, but it's a game we should be winning, and it's a game that promises goals as well. And also, Thursday, we didn't win in Kazakhstan. That sounds dreadful, of course it does, but we managed to rest our full selection of first 11 players. Only Luke Shaw and Jesse Lingard were involved, and Axel Tuanzebe, let's say, were involved from the first team squad. Mason Greenwood's been involved with the first team as well, but he's made 4 or 5 starts this season. He's not made a great amount of starts. You're looking at the players that we'd be thinking about starting. All of them got rested, and that's great news ahead of this game because it's going to be a difficult game. Aston Villa promoted. Yes, they're a newly promoted side. Yes, their form has been hit and miss. They have got a recent good win against Newcastle 2-0. They've been better at home than they have been away. But nevertheless, even in the games that they've lost, they've competed in against Liverpool at home, against Spurs away. They probably should have won those games. So you're looking at a Villa side that will be confident of pulling off a shock, especially given the way Manchester United are playing at the moment. Also, they've not been in a Premier League fixture at Old Trafford for an awfully long time now. Villa are one of those traditional Premier League teams, and it's been a while since they've been to Old Trafford, so they're going to be up for that as well. Some of these players may never have played at Old Trafford before, so we've got to take all those things into account. But nevertheless, a game United with our full strength should be winning. We obviously haven't got a full strength midfield. Fingers crossed we will be getting Scott McTominay back for this game. Paul Pogba has been pictured arriving at Carrington for training, and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has commented saying he is getting closer to a return, hopefully looking around that Man City game, but who knows, maybe with Spurs on the horizon he could be involved in that game. But apart from that, we're looking at the midfield that is down to its bare bones at the minute. Fred and Pereira against Sheffield United clearly didn't work, clearly wasn't good enough, and I think getting McTominay in there alongside Fred would obviously give us a little bit more strength in there. It'd still be a pretty even battle up against the likes of McGinn, Grealish in those central areas of the pitch, but it gives us a little bit more steel and someone that's going to be flying around, getting stuck into challenges as well. And I think it'd be a great game, McTominay against McGinn in that midfield. So we need to get McTominay back. Hopefully he's available for this game. Ollie said touch and go. He should be back for Tottenham, could be back for Villa. So it's seemingly 50-50 on this one. And if McTominay is fit enough for the bench starting, in my opinion, because the midfield just quite frankly has not been good enough. James Garner, Dylan Levitt did well, you know, against Astana midweek, but it was against Astana. And they're not likely to have travelled back from Kazakhstan and then going to be involved with the first team on Sunday. Although stranger things have happened and they're young players and they've got fresh legs. If McTominay is half available, get him in the team. So I'm looking forward to hopefully the return of Scott McTominay, and not too long away from seeing Paul Pogba back in a Man United shirt as well. We really have missed him and his creativity. Yes, in recent weeks we've seen some slightly improved performances from the team. We're scoring more goals, we're creating more chances, but without Paul Pogba we really lack that spearhead in midfield, that creative focal point in midfield, and getting Paul Pogba back is an important task for us as well. We need him back in this team, and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was saying it's like a new signing, which I'm sure it is. You know, we've been getting by without him for so long. Adding him to the team would be great. So not far from his return, but probably not going to play against Aston Villa. Let me check out some of your comments right now. Suvam says he would prefer Levitt or Garner along with Fred if Scott McTominay is not fit. Central midfield is Pereira's ideal position. BA thinks it's going to be a hat-trick for Anthony Martial. John D says, great show. Thank you very much for tuning in. Road Boss, Mo Wada, non-stop in the comments. John as well again. Michael, Footy Live, laughing at Emery Zahir as well, saying Levitt is a good player. And, you know, that was a disappointing defeat. You would have seen my little moan on the last video I did on this channel, which was a reaction to the Astana game. And I had a little moan because I thought people were taking the defeat against Astana out of context, massively taking it out of context. Now, if you just didn't see the game and you picked up your phone and you looked at the score and it said Astana 2, Man United 1, you know, you have all right to be thinking, hey, that's a little bit strange. United should have been losing this game. But when you take into consideration the way the game went, who played for Manchester United, the fact that we took an under-23 side with Jesse Lingard, Luke Shaw and Lee Grant, when you take those things into consideration, you can't be overly critical of that. Now, you can be critical of the fact that maybe these young boys learned a tough lesson in terms of taking your chances. Tahith Chong misses that absolute sitter. And never mind Tahith Chong's chance. We should have scored a goal or two more before then as well. And it's just a sign of, you know, you have to have that killer instinct. Astana were up for it in the second half. And we didn't react until we went behind, where we could have scored another goal or two. And I think it's just about, you're going to have people saying, oh, they're not good enough. Well, how do you find out if they're not good enough or they're good enough if you don't play them in the first team? You're never going to find out. They're always going to look good at academy level. How are you going to find out if they're good enough? People say, oh, we lost against Kazakhstan. You know, well, we're through in the Europa League. Why do we need to worry about that? We don't. We've seen these kind of fixtures before where you get through in the group and you're able to play your youngsters. And I think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer benefited more from not taking the first team with him and playing the youngsters, because you look at the trip as well. It's a massive trip. Imagine coming back from that. The lads would have got back today. They would have probably had a training session, then tomorrow, and then you got the match. And it's not ideal preparation for a Premier League fixture. So I think all in all, resting those players, playing the 23s was the right decision, and they would have learnt an awful lot of lessons, some of them, whether they make it at United or not. That's the only way you find out. And I think Ethan Laird, Dylan Levitt, James Garner all showed that they've got a future at the club. Deshaun Bernard didn't do too badly either. So I don't think there's too much to complain about from that, despite, apart from the result is probably the best phrasing to use. Get hitting that like button. Jacob saying Laird was impressive. Hester say Pogba is slow, predictable. I disagree with that. He does sometimes get caught on the ball. I don't think that's because he's slow. I think at times he just gets caught trying to do too many things at once, which can happen when there's A, not many options around you showing for the ball, and B, when you're playing with it on the edge of your box. That's why it's important that we get Paul Pogba in a further forward position and maybe playing McTominay, Fred, just in behind him. It allow him that freedom to not be sitting on the edge of his box and not to make those mistakes. Paul, thank you for your nice comment, mate. I really do appreciate it. Bill says, what did they learn? No tactics, no philosophy. Come on, man. I think that's a little bit unfair, to be honest. You learn the step up from under 23s to men's football. Mentally, physically, it's a big step up. It's a big difference. Now look, I've said it before and I'll say it again. Whether Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is the man or not, I don't know. But what he's doing at the moment, in terms of getting rid of players, in terms of the signings he has actually been able to make, despite the board that we have, you know, the players that are being given opportunities, I think ultimately it will benefit the next manager that will hopefully take us on to success if Ole Gunnar Solskjaer isn't that man. I think some of us have got to, this is why when people say, oh, are you Ole in or you Ole out? Are you in or out? Are you in or out? I never say I'm in and I never say I'm out. I try and look at things as level-headed as possible, both positive and negative. If you're Ole in, then you're always going to try and find the positive somewhere where it may not be. And if you're Ole out, you're always scratching for negatives. You know, United can win, you're looking for a negative. United can lose but play loads of youth players, you're going to start complaining about that. I think you've just got to be balanced in your view on this. And you've got to also look at the bigger picture at Manchester United. The bigger picture is this season we were never going to win the league or anything. We had to flush a lot of shit out of this team, which hopefully we are now starting to do. And we needed to have a reset, and that's happening. Now, like I keep saying, that doesn't mean I think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is the best manager in the world, the best manager for the job, because I never said he should have got the job in the first place. But I think you've got to take some, and we need to go through this pain in order to be able to rebuild and go on for success. We have to go through this pain to be able to go on and rebuild for success. You're going to have to go through a time where, look at this squad now. Our first 11 is okay. We've got a good defence first 11 wise. If you're looking at Brandon Williams or Luke Shaw, Brandon Williams at the moment, Lindelof or Twanzebe, Harry Maguire, Wan-Bissaka, De Gea. I'd be happy with that. Midfield, shocking. You know, beyond Pogba and McTominay, there's too many question marks. Up front, Martial, Rashford, Danny James, you know, Mason Greenwood. We're happy to have them in the team, but we need more depth. This squad isn't what Ollie wants it to be. It isn't what we want it to be, but it's what we had to do. We had to get rid of the Alexis Sanchez, Lukaku. Now, I would have hoped the board would have signed the players so that we are in a position to say, well, no, actually, Ollie should be getting better results because he was able to buy that right winger that he wanted, that central midfielder that he wanted, that attacking, you know, if he was able to do it, we could give those criticisms, but I don't think this team is anywhere near where he wants it to be at the moment. Having said that, you can also criticise him for, I think, his in-game management at times. I think his substitutions at times. And I think his tactics at times. Although, you could also praise him at other times for that. And I think he has got it right on occasion. And he has got it wrong on occasion. But I think comparing Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's first season to Jose Mourinho's first season, say, or even David Moyes' is totally unfair, because the club and the squad and the position that we're in is completely different. Yes, we have spent a lot of money in the last 6-7 years, an awful lot of money, but how much of that money is still in this team right now? How much of it is still in this team? Not a lot of it is still here. So you've also got to look at that. Let me dive back into these comments because I'm seeing loads of comments right now. Keep your comments coming in here on Adam McKola TV. Make sure you're liking this video, you're commenting, and you are sharing. This is the Aston Villa preview. I want to get your likes on the video. We've only got 14 at the moment. Come on, we could do better than that. Akito says he come out and said he had the money and didn't use it. Were the players that he wanted there? Like, were the club the players that he wanted, did they get them for him? I don't think they did. And it's all well and good. Like, Jose may have taken his second, third, fourth choices. Look where that got him. It's not about that. You have to get the right men. You can't just take someone. Like, even if we forced that Dybala move, he didn't want to come to the club. I would have been buzzing, by the way. We haven't had a good midfield since Fergie left. That Pogba, Matic, Herrera thing worked for a little bit, but I do agree with you in the main. How much would a Daley Blind be worth in this team at the moment? You know what I mean? If we kept Daley Blind and Herrera, McTominay, Pogba, Fred, it's not that bad, but we got rid of both of them. Which Villa players would get into this Manchester United team, says Southern, which is probably a good time to move on to the opposition. And I've pointed out two players that I think everybody will point them out. I don't think it's a surprise or a secret. But Jack Grealish, I'd take him at Manchester United, that's for sure. And John McGinn, both top talents, both been playing fantastically well this season. Wesley is a physical presence up top. He hasn't been showing that lethal presence in front of goal. Now I've said that, he probably will go on and do so, but he hasn't been looking killer in front of goal as Wesley. John McGinn and Jack Grealish, if they play well, Villa will play well. And in that midfield area, we've got to be winning those battles. And I actually think in this team, they'd both get into the team for United. Grealish would fit in between the lines, in behind Rashford and Martial, I personally think. And John McGinn, with the state of our midfield, would 100% get into it. That's not to say, should we be signing John McGinn? But at this moment in time, he would get into our midfield. So those are players that I think would get into this United team. They've also got former United Academy players, James Chester and Tom Heaton. Tom Heaton, I remember having an absolute worldie at Old Trafford for Burnley. So fingers crossed he doesn't have another game of his life. John D says McGinn is class. Vinay says we need a player like Carrick, if only. Espen says we should get Ziyech and Sancho. Zahir says we need a central midfielder at the very least in January to improve the team. The champion is involved all the way from Devon. Anwar Al Ghazi is also a threat as well. Is a talented player. He's like a budget Ronaldo. Harris, a young Ronaldo, not this current Ronaldo that just is a monster in front of goal. Harris says he really misses Herrera. Bajango says Blind is badly missed at this club. Would you rather had Ndidi or a Madison? Madison, but we need both types of players. But if I was to take one from them, I'd take a Madison, or I'd take Ndidi and Grealish. That wouldn't be too bad either, would it? Man, what was you saying? As I want to ask everyone, how does a manager become a good one with time? Says Glenn. Put that out there to all you guys. Get your comments in the comments below on that. And 22 is in the comments simply saying up the fucking Reds. On to my predicted 11. Now I've gone with David De Gea in goal, Wan-Bissaka, Lindelof, Maguire and Brandon Williams. Now Scott McTominay is an injury doubt, but Ollie said, Jose? Ooh, that was a slip of the tongue. Ollie said that he could possibly make it, so I've gone on the positive side. My cup is half full, and I've gone with McTominay in the team alongside Fred, Daniel James, Marcus Rashford and Anthony Martial, with Juan Mata in behind them. It was either Andreas Pereira, Jesse Lingard or Juan Mata. I thought Andreas Pereira's performance against Sheffield United, for me, doesn't warrant a start in this game. Now, that does not to mean, banish him forever, but play Mata in this game. I think the last time Mata played, he played quite well. And I do think Aston Villa will be trying to hit us on the break. They'll be trying to soak up pressure, trying to hit us on the break, release the likes of Jack Grealish, Wesley, McGinn on the counter-attack, try and get those counter-attacks in there. So it's interesting, but I do think Mata will then be able to pick up spaces and pick up holes, and he's better than Pereira and Jesse Lingard in terms of finding those gaps with the passes. Anyway, when can we see Pogba back, says Armando. Hopefully very soon. He's back in training and back in Carrington. Who would you play if McTominay is not fit, says Mo Wada. We would have to play Pereira, wouldn't we? James Garner, Dylan Levitt does come into mind, but they're not going to start having started on Thursday. I don't think it'd happen. And I think McTominay's probably been getting ready for this game. It's probably why we haven't rushed him back. What's up, Zoo? Hope you're doing well. I think we should put Mason on from the start in the place of Martial, says Glenn. I don't think so. Mason Greenwood didn't play well enough against Astana to warrant a start in this game, in my opinion. We have to take our time with these things as well. We will see Pogba in a United shirt again, red 92. I'm not saying he won't leave. I do think he will leave, in the summer. But we will see him in a United shirt again. Harry says, why isn't Gomez being given a chance properly yet? Well, it does seem like he could possibly be not signing a contract, but we'll see soon. Anyway, he did play against Astana, obviously, and he was back in the team, but he was also injured. The last time we played Aston Villa was 1-0, 16th of April, 2016. Now, get your comments in the comments below and in the live comments. Who scored the goal when Manchester United beat Aston Villa 1-0 in April 2016? Let us know in those comments below who you think, or if you know who scored the goal. It was when Aston Villa were relegated. So they were relegated on that day. Who scored the goal for Manchester United? Let us know in those comments. below. Lindelof out, Twanzebe in, says Ilya. For the same reason, I don't think Garner or Levitt will start. I don't think Twanzebe will start. I think it would have been a thing where we would have just separated the squads. You might see a Jesse Lingard and Twanzebe on the bench, Luke Shaw on the bench, but I don't think we'll be seeing any of those guys starting. Suvam's prediction is 3-1. Let us know who scored that goal. It wasn't Rooney, 22. It was not Rooney. It was not Van Persie. Ilya, it was not Rooney. A few of you have got it right, but keep your comments coming in the comments below. Who scored the goal when Manchester United beat Aston Villa 1-0 on the 16th of April 2016? What are your score predictions for this game as well? Yeah, a lot of you have got it, haven't you? A lot of you have got it. But for those that aren't watching live, I'll give the answer at the end of this video. My score prediction for the game is 2-0 to United, but I do see a difficult game ahead. I do think it will be a difficult game. Our front three all prefer the left wing, says Mick Ruby. I don't think Anthony Martial does, no. Zahir says, what my score prediction? My score prediction is 2-0 to Manchester United. We need a ball winner in midfield to free up Pogba, says the champion. I totally agree. We need at least 1 or 2 more midfielders. Pogba comes on with 30 minutes left, says Road Boss. That would be good. Dean says 2-2 in the comments, and subscribe to Straight Up as well. The link is in the description below. 22 says 1-1. Another one that thinks it's going to be a draw. BA thinks 3-0 to Manchester United. And yeah, keep your comments coming in, keep your predictions coming in, like Zahir has, saying 3-1 to Manchester United. I do hope we keep a clean sheet. We need to start keeping clean sheets. And when you look at that backline, David De Gea, Maguire, Wan-Bissaka, Lindelof, Brandon Williams, it's not bad at all, and there's no reason why we shouldn't be keeping clean sheets. Obviously, it doesn't help when you've got an unsettled midfield in front of it, but we should be keeping more clean sheets, and fingers crossed we can do that this weekend. But it's going to be threats coming from Villa, from set plays and from open play on the counter-attack. I think they'll cause us problems. That's why I really do hope Scott McTominay is fit for this one. Like I said, Man United 2, Aston Villa 0 is my score prediction, and BA is going for an Anthony Martial hat-trick. How much I would love that. And talking about Martial, Rashford, Martial and James, their movement has to be a lot better. But I also think than it was against Sheffield United. But I also think United have to bring them into the game better. And by playing someone like Juan Mata, we'll be able to do that. The problem against Sheffield United was we played with the 3-4-3. We had James, we had Rashford, we had Martial. So if you look at that graphic right there, imagine Mata's not in that hole. Imagine Mata's not in that hole. So we didn't have anyone in that space that could pick up the ball from Pereira and Fred and supply the ball to James and Rashford and Martial. And because they were so static, because they stood still, because they were so wide and Martial was so forward, there was a big gap of space in the middle of the park. No red shirts were occupied. Well, no United shirts were occupying. And Sheffield United just found it far too easy mopping in front of Martial, James and Rashford. We made it far too easy for them in the first half. That's why playing with Juan Mata gives us that option. And that's why Oli should have changed it sooner. When he made the change and brought on Jesse Lingard 4-2-3-1, that was the right change. But he should have came after 30 minutes, and he should have shown some clinicalness in making that decision. Nevertheless, I want to see that team against Aston Villa, and I do think we'll get a 2-0 win. 22 says, anyone know when Timbo's back? Bailly and Timbo were in training with the first team. They're back in training. I think they're training with footballs now. Still going to be a while for them because they've had long time injuries, but nevertheless they will be back soon, sooner rather than later, hopefully. The question was Manchester United 1, Aston Villa 0, 16th of April 2016. Who scored the goal for Manchester United? And loads of you got it right there. It was Marcus Rashford who scored the goal. Christian Lees got it right. Mo Wada, he asked the question, so I'm not sure if he got it right or if he was guessing, but he guessed correct with Marcus. Red 92, ANDP 44 got it right. Zahir Patel, who made Matt Matt didn't get it right. He said Chicharito. Bajangle got it right. Also, it was Marcus Rashford. That scored the goal against Aston Villa in 2016. And I think he's going to score again, as is Anthony Martial, in a 2-0 win for Manchester United. But it is going to be a difficult game. Remember, I'll have live reaction coming for you from Old Trafford after the match. So make sure you're keeping it locked. Hitting that subscribe button on the channel. Commenting below with your score predictions, your predicted 11s and your random thoughts. And if you've got any questions, I'll try and answer them in the comments as well. But for now, guys, I have been Adam McKola. You guys have been legends. I'm out of here.